with something different with this music going on. A flashback to Season 3 for you. Lofi Poli Sci coming at you, Michael Pickering here, with a top 10 list on Friday. We got too much to do and too little time to do it, so here we are, with the next segment in our 9-part mini-series, Our World in Numbers. And today, Part 8, the 10 lowest HDI countries in the world. That's right, we've already done the top 10 HDI countries. Now it's time we see the other side of things. And let's start with a bit of a refresher for you on what HDI is. The Human Development Index, which is done by the United Nations Human Development Program, and it is a variable that is measured from 0 to 1. But what is this human development really measuring, ? Well, it's what we call a compound variable. It's a variable that combines 3 other development indicators to create a fuller picture of development in a country. Theoretically, at least. We'll talk about that more next issue. But for our 3 variables that make up HDI, we're looking at gross national income per capita with purchasing power parity, average life expectancy in a country, and average educational attainment as measured by years of schooling. It combines these 3 variables and creates a score from 0 to 1. Et voila, that's HDI. The higher a country score, the more developed it is considered. The lower the country score, the less it is considered developed. Simple as that. Now let's go to the list already. And our data come from the 2019 UN Human Development Index, as compiled for the 2020 Human Development Report. More on that and why there isn't 2020/2021 dataset, once again, in our next issue. And coming in at number 10, Eritrea, with a .459. Number 9, Mozambique, with a .456. And tied for number 8 is Burkina Faso and Sierra Leone at .452. Number 6 is Mali, with a .434. And now to our bottom 5. Tied for number 5, Burundi and South Sudan at .433. Number 3 is Chad at .398. Number 2, Central African Republic, .397. And number 1, the country with the lowest HDI score in the world, Niger, .394. Niger has an average life expectancy in the country of 62.4 years old. An average educational attainment in the country, 2.1 years of schooling. And a GNI per capita of $1,200 a person a year. Let me repeat that for you. Niger has an average life expectancy in the country of 62.4 years old. An average educational attainment in the country of 2.1 years of schooling. And a GNI per capita of $1,200 a person a year. Let me put that in perspective for you. Our number 1 for the highest HDI in the world, Norway. Their average life expectancy is 82.4 years old. Niger is 62.4. Norway's average years of schooling is 18.1 years. Niger's is 2.1 years. Norway's GNI per capita is $66,400 a person a year. Niger's is $1,200 a person a year. I don't even need to say it. You already know. And if you're unsure, just rewind and listen again. But Niger isn't even the country with the lowest life expectancy on our list today. Oh, no, indeed. The country of Chad. Their life expectancy is 54.2 years old. An average life expectancy in the country is just 54 years old. That's not even close to the retirement age in Western developed countries like Norway. And Niger's GNI per capita isn't even the lowest on our list. That goes to Burundi at just $754 a person a year. And if this next one doesn't get you, I don't know what will. Our number 1 Niger, with an average educational attainment of 2.1 years of schooling, is also not the lowest average in our list. That goes to Burkina Faso, where average educational attainment in the country is 1.6 years of schooling. And you want to know what's more? So this is our last list, right before our Pulling It All Together episode. This is our 8th list in our series. And this is the most geographically biased list of all, period. Every single one of these countries are African countries. All 10 of them. And what can I say that you already don't know? Well, how about this? Out of the 50 or so lowest ranked countries by the Human Development Index, the 50 lowest, about 40 of them were African countries. I stopped counting after that because there's only 54 to 56 African countries. It means when you look at development by education, health, and income, Africa is so unequally, so disproportionately at the lower end of the global development scale. And why, you may ask, ? Shout out to Alana and Kayla for writing in and getting it right last week. Post-colonialism, neocolonization, and the indifference of the West. Western countries raped and pillaged their way through colonizing the entire African continent, stole their people and their resources, made up borders, and created the map of Africa at the Berlin Conference of 1884-85 with no regard of the people living there. And those borders, spoiler alert, are still very much the same borders there today. Then, during decolonization after World War II, the West just up and left, said peace out. Some tried to stay and wars for independence broke out, but there was such a chaotic pullout of the colonizers that, well, if you know the stories, you know what happened in Afghanistan last August? Typical Western decolonization, leaving chaos and authoritarianism behind, and economic ruin. It's such a stereotypical Western move. And then to later come back and say, hey, we'll help out, but really we just want more of those resources and money. And enter into the room neocolonization, where the West comes back to economically control African countries and create more chaos and instability. All because money, power, and the indifference to human life when it comes from Africa. You know, the West, Europe, and North America have always been indifferent to the people of African countries. They didn't care last century during colonization, or World War II, or during decolonization, or during neocolonization, and sure as hell didn't care during the post-2008 global economic recession, or during the Arab Spring, except to help cause even more chaos, and most certainly were indifferent during the pandemic, and helping out the effort. Which, P.S., the news cycle may have moved on from COVID, but the situation with COVID in African countries has not disappeared just because people stopped talking about it. It's just the latest example of indifference by the West in regard to anything having to do with African countries. Now, let me be exceedingly clear with this next part, Lo-Fi listeners. When I say the West and its indifference, I am most certainly also talking about us. We are not exempt from this conversation or blame. Now, in the past, when all our democracies really weren't democracies, like the World War II era, where the vast amount of the people of Western countries still couldn't vote, including, women and minority populations, sure, those pricks back in the day that led the way through indifference in Africa during colonization and decolonization, yeah, that's on them. But we are democracies now. We can all go out and make a difference in so many ways today. We can make Africa a priority. We can all say that the people of African countries, well, that's our people. They're part of the we that we be. We all have a choice these days. We can all go to bed and wake up tomorrow and become our parents and let the indifference continue. Or we can start right now and be someone different and reject the indifference. The choice, however, is yours.